I'm sure someone's already done a video on this topic, but I was just thinking about how, they want to take away no-fault divorce, which literally just got passed in 2010, I think. And that just means basically, you can, divorce your partner for, any reason, really. You don't need to leave because, they're, how do I phrase this? It gives people more leeway and options to have a more fulfilled life, in my opinion, because if you get into a marriage and there's no option of divorce, that's quite scary to me. And part of it is just, I hate, feeling trapped in any way in a relationship, but I also think that, no one should be trapped in a relationship like that, in that kind of way. But anyway, I don't think that men realize that no-fault divorce is just as much for them as it is for us. Because one of the first videos I ever did on here, actually, was on an article about how in less gender equal countries, women develop more dark triad traits, which include narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, I think is the third one. But they're all actually, in my opinion, it's all survival skills. Because if you're forced to be in a marriage and you don't have the option of getting out, what do you think the wives are doing? Because when divorce is available, the amount of men who are mysteriously pass away from natural causes goes down. Look into Aqua Tofana. It was a daughter and a mother who sold this poison. It's odorless, tasteless, and it mimicked a heart attack, I think, or some sort of... Hey, get out of there. Come on. Sorry. My cat was in the freaking pantry. But yeah, because before women had the option to leave, we would just, if it got bad enough, to save ourselves and prevent future harm to children. That's also why a lot of times wives were gifted cast iron skillets. Not only are they great for cooking, but great for beating people with. So, I feel like men have, a false idea that, forcing women, all trying to force everyone back into, traditional marriages like it was in the 1950s, that it's not gonna work. Because now, women my age especially, we've lived through, the Me Too movement and all these different types of feminist movements. So we have actually something to compare a domestic housewife life to. And two, in the Feminine Mystique, that was, one of the most popular books ever written, because it was written by a housewife who, I don't know if she coined it, but there's something called housewife syndrome, and it kind of mirrors zoochosis, which is a psychosis that animals go into when they're kept at a zoo or in any enclosed space, because it's great that women, we can't just fully be fulfilled, in my opinion, just being a wife and a mom. You have to have other things outside of that identity to feel complete and feel whole. And so no surprise that a lot of the women back then, they were dealing with chronic depression, and also there was mommy's little helper, which were just stimulants that wives were taking to be able to keep up with the domestic duties in the house and with the children, because at that point too, there was no village. There was only two people raising one child, which is, it's even hard raising a child just with two people. And, you know, as we know, a lot of the times the dads aren't really like even that, even if they're physically present, they're not emotionally present, which is very damaging. But yeah, if this whole thing, like if they do find a way to turn over no fault divorce. Oh, another thing, I think that they also want to take away the option of divorce because then they won't have to pay alimony. Because we know how much men complain about paying for fucking alimony and child support when that's literally the law. And it's crazy to me that men complain about doing, like, sending child support when you were part of making that child. And you decided to end that woman. It is your legal responsibility to also take care of it. You can't just leave it all to the mom. And this is why we should be raising them children in villages of women, in my opinion. And men shouldn't be allowed around children until like they're at least 9 or 10. Until they're old enough to communicate if something bad were to happen to them. But that's just my opinion.